Joining us live now from Pune is Nandan Bal, an Indian tennis coach and former coach of the national men's tennis team. Mr. Bal, thanks so much for joining us. My first question for you, is it fair for the world number one to be treated like a common criminal? Let's face it, the ATP, which is the main body in men's tennis, made it quite clear that he had done nothing wrong and he followed the rules that had been laid down for every tennis player entering Australia.
But I guess there's a lot of, this is obviously not just tennis that's happening there. There obviously is a lot of politics going down there. I am assuming that the government of Australia, with an election coming up, will not take any chances. There's a lot of citizens in Australia who were completely against allowing Djokovic to play. So on one hand, I think there is a certain bit of politics at play here. There's no question about the fact that, he did follow the rules, but then the question is if there is a certain rule that says that you have to be vaccinated and, he was trying to play around it. I think Tsitsipas said something about the fact that he was playing to his own rules. I think at some point you have to expect some kind of backlash, and I think that's what he's facing.
Right. Now, the Australian Prime Minister Scott Morrison has maintained through this entire episode that rules are rules. Perhaps Djokovic has found a way around the rules, but he has admitted to also breaching his country's COVID isolation protocol and even falsifying the travel declaration ahead of his trip to Australia. Now, that clearly hasn't won him any new friends. So is his reputation now at an all-time low? And I want to understand, from a purely technical tennis question and a point of view, away from all this controversy, away from the hearings, how ready will Djokovic be considering all that he has gone through since landing last Wednesday?
If you ask me if he'll be ready for the Australian Open, I think yes, he will be. But the point is he going to be allowed to be played the Australian Open? At this point, that doesn't look good. That really doesn't look that that's happening. But I think for the Australian Open, he will be ready. Yes, there's going to be a huge amount of backlash, whether it's the spectators, whether it's the officials, whether it's the umpires, linesmen, whether it's the opponents. There definitely is going to be a huge backlash, and he's certainly not going up the popularity ratings in Australia, that's for sure. So he's going to have to face all that. But that being said, over the last 8 years, I think every time he played a Federer or a Nadal, he's always faced that. So he's going to be ready for that. He knows that he has to expect that. I'm just not sure whether he would have had enough practice on the tennis court. If he gets in 2 or 3 good matches early up in the first and second rounds, then he could be match ready. But the moot point is he going to be allowed to play?
I think one of the biggest questions that everybody wants to know right now is about his reputation. This is an aspirational star, the world #1 tennis player. Everybody looks up to him, and such a big controversy at a time when we're talking about taking precautions, wearing face masks, isolating if you're COVID positive, and somebody who's considered to be a role model for many across the world does something like this. What kind of hit will his reputation take?
Well, there's no question about the fact that he's not making any friends here. There's no two ways about that. He's going to be highly unpopular amongst the players, amongst his colleagues, peers, amongst the crowds. So he's certainly not doing his reputation any good. He's certainly not doing his reputation any good. He's going to struggle. He's going to struggle big time. And his reputation is just going to go down the drain. No two ways about that.
Right. Mr. Bal, thank you so much for all those insights, and thanks for joining us on WION at this hour.
Sure.
WION World is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news updates on the move.